are they Starlink satellites? Has somebody just released Starlink satellites? And he turns, looks at the feed, sees the objects, and then he looks through the window into the main control room, and they flick a switch, and they do it right in front of us. Transmission to the space station has been interrupted.
How the devil are we? I'm Matt, and it's been a while since we've done one of these. Let's have a look what he's got to say today.
G'day and welcome to Reality Check Q&A. I'm your host.
G'day, Ross.
This is the time when you get to ask me the hard questions, and here to help
Where's the giant UFO, Ross?
me answer them is my producer, colleague and friend, Megan Orada. G'day, Megan. How was Greece, by the way? I know you were across in the Greek islands of all places. Lucky you.
Yeah, Ross, it was so beautiful, such a beautiful place. And great to be there this time of year because it's kind of off season for tourism and travel. So we had a nice time.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And are you going to hit me some questions first, or are you going to tell me about your holiday?
I'm going to tell you straight about my holiday, Ross. What you're prattling on about. Come on. She doesn't do small talk on this. I think she just goes straight into the question. And Ross does a 10-minute answer. And then she'll go, all right, okay, thanks for telling me that. Next question.
I think I'm going to tell you a little about my holiday because, Ross, while I was there, I saw something very strange in the skies, and you are the first person that I am telling my story to.
A UFO sighting. How intriguing.
So you're going to tell me that you've seen a UAP?
Well, I'm not sure if I'm ready
UFO.
to call it that. I will let you be the judge of that since you are the professional there. But I will tell you what I did see. I'll set the scene. We were in Santorini. It was sunset time. We're sitting outside by the pool.
Cue violin, bottle of wine.
Bingo. Check, check, check.
Just get on with it.
And, you're looking out over the ocean, trying to enjoy the beautiful sunset. And I, off to the left of the sun, see an orb. I saw a white floating orb. Slow, peaceful, moving in a very rhythmic way. And I watched it move and move and move, and then it just disappeared.
How far
I mean, could be anything that really, couldn't it?
away?
Not very far. It felt like it was pretty close to us. It felt closer to shore than it did over the ocean, and also not very high. I'd say maybe quarter mile in the sky.
So,
Yeah, 12 miles. Yeah, not high.
it was a quarter of a mile away. And how far off the surface of the sea?
A quarter mile off the surface of the sea.
400 meters, roundabout.
I'd say even about maybe the same distance from me.
Okay. And how long did you watch it for?
I'm going to say about 15 to 20 seconds, which feels long, but it also could have been longer. I felt like I was totally transfixed by this object, watching it move in such a slow, rhythmic pattern.
How much wine did you drink on the night?
Now, I know you're on holiday with your husband. Did he see it as well? Do you have a witness?
He did not see it, but he saw me seeing it, and he was looking at me like, what is this girl looking at?
I mean, 15 seconds. Right, imagine me going like that now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not going to count 15 seconds. But that would have been enough time to sort of go, what are you looking at? And then turn around and go, oh yeah, I can see the white orb.
So when I finally kind of came to, and after it disappeared, it seemed like it almost had a destination. And when it got to that destination, then it took off and disappeared from sight. So when I kind of came to, I looked over at him and he just said, what did you just see? And I go, a UAP.
So when you say it took
He said, what did you see, UAP? When Ross said, you saw a UAP, she's like, I'm not sure I'll call it that.
off, are you saying it accelerated faster than it had been moving and took off out of sight? Or
no, as in it just disappeared, just gone. Yeah,
wow,
so it just floating, hit its target, and then just disappeared.
When you say it's hit its target, did it go underwater?
No, almost like, oh, this is going to sound crazy, but this is reality checks. This is where we thrive in this realm.
We
It almost
crazy.
we thrive off of what I'm about to say. It was almost like it had a portal that it was tracking to, and it was like, I'm on my way, and then it's like, okay, now I'm disappearing.
Wow.
It just disappeared. It just disappeared into thin air, and I could not find it anywhere. So then after, I was like, balloon, airplane, this, that, bird, and I'm like, but then it just doesn't.
Yeah, I suppose your brain goes through all the general permutations. What was it? I think to be fair, they talk about portals and stuff, so I think you fill those gaps in based on the experience of talking about the topic quite a lot.
Then how did it disappear? Like that, how did it disappear? I'd be able to track it if it was all those other things.
So you've gone through all the possible prosaic explanations, and you can't think of anything that would fit what you saw?
No, an orb, an egg. I don't know.
How big was it? If you were to, I mean, obviously it's a quarter of a mile away, but how big was it, do you estimate?
Rather large. I would say the size of a ring light. Everyone has those now in the digital age. It felt like about a large ring light.
A ring light? I mean, a ring light? What's a ring light?
Sorry, forgive me, from Australia. What's a ring light, and how wide is that? Oh, wow.
Like,
okay.
the ring lights that you put in front of your camera for good lighting
okay.
in television. You have one, Ross.
Right, okay. Yep. Got.
I wonder what the crap she was on about then. So yeah, okay, I know what she means.
Large, so maybe a yard across, 3
I don't have one.
3 feet across.
Absolutely, 3 feet.
Wow. Well, that's extraordinary. So what I guess we should do, and if we're to be professional about this, is if there's anyone else in Santorini, Greece, who's watching Reality Check, who's had a similar experience, Megan Arata is looking for a corroborative witness. That's great, Megan. Just by the way, I'm just wondering, because I'm doing some work at the moment with.
I've never seen something. I don't think. I think I saw a light when I was a kid in the sky and thought that's a bit weird. It seems to be hovering over a field. But then you get bored of watching it, so then you just yeah.
It's the idea of psionic connection, people being able to connect psychically with the phenomena. Did you get any sense at all that the phenomena was there specifically for you?
Russ, I did not feel that in the moment, but I did feel that peaceful sense of like, this isn't harmful. Like, I wasn't scared in any way.
Well, you wouldn't be scared of a light in the sky at a quarter of a mile away.
Again, I was almost transfixed by it. I could not take my eyes off of it. So when it disappeared into thin air, I knew something was funky with it.
Well, I like the idea that it was seeking you out to make you less skeptical, Megan. So this is a turning point for Reality Check. Wonderful.
Yeah, they were like, tell Ross. Make sure you tell Ross. So I'm doing their bidding.
Okay, so let's fire away. And by the way, if anybody does have any similar sightings, particularly from Santorini in Greece, we'd love to hear from you. And so, especially with Megan.
Yes, and I'll throw up a picture right now that a viewer did send me on X of some similar orbs. These were at night, so I think the images are actually pretty good. My sighting was, there was still sunlight out, but just some more images of different orbs that people are seeing all around. But I will get into our first question, and now we'll do the viewers bidding. This comes in from Simone. Hi, Ross and Megan. Thank you for providing grounded, fact-checked, high-quality journalism on the UAP paranormal topic. After listening to your recent interview with Joshua, I'm wondering if Area 2 at Nellis Nuclear Base is on land that used to be inhabited and considered sacred by Native Americans.
Okay. Let's unpack that. So, did they build Nellis Nuclear Base on sacred native Indian burial grounds? I mean, I'm cueing Casper site in my head here going, and it was built on the graveyard. Okay.
I'm aware that some sacred sites are rumored to have portals and paranormal experiences like shadow people attached to them, e.g. Skinwalker Ranch. Love, Simone.
Hi, Simone, and I completely agree with you. That is a very good angle to explore, and it's one that we did actually explore in the story. We started talking about the skinwalkers from Skinwalker Ranch. I'm told that, yes, there is a Native American, a strong Native American connection to this particular area, and yes, shadow people or shadow beings are part of that mythology. So, yeah, maybe that's what they saw.
Big leap. Big leap. I'm not even sure shadow people exist, if I'm honest. I mean, there's reports going back years and you see footage, but the more and more ghost shadows coming out now that have like, oh, look, there's a shadow appearing around the corner of the door. You think, oh, bollocks.
I just don't know. We've had a
I'd say I'd love to see a shadow person. At the same time, no, I wouldn't.
Huge reaction to Joshua's interview, and it's interesting because a lot of people are saying, well, you know, he's just another person making anecdotal claims, and it's not anecdotal at all. It's a direct first-person witness who has provided testimony to the Federal Bureau of Investigations, and moreover, I can tell you his testimony is corroborated by at least 2 other witnesses that the FBI are reaching out to. So this is a well corroborated, triple corroborated story of odd paranormal goings on at one of the most sensitive nuclear installations in the world.
That's a strange angle, really, because you talk about alien technology, you talk about reverse engineer technology or black projects, you know, things like TR3B, you know, Skunkworks. You don't talk about ghosts and ghouls and witches and the woo that happens, shadow people, interdimensional beings, maybe. I think interdimensional gets mixed up with the UAP topic nowadays. But yeah, it's a strange angle, really, as part of this subject.
And I do think, yes, the possibility that this paranormal explanation might be shadow beings of some kind in accordance with Native American mythology is a very plausible, possible explanation.
All right, another question on the Joshua interview. This is from Catherine. Hi, Megan and Ross. My question is around the excellent interview Ross conducted with Joshua Shelton. Do you think the shadow figures spotted at Area 2 and other nuclear sites are remote viewers? Best wishes from the UK.
It's funny, you know, I've never heard of remote viewers manifesting physically. It's funny, I was only talking to somebody about this last night. There's remote viewing is somebody remotely perceiving a location, but they're not geolocating. They're not basically taking their corporeal body there. I don't know a lot. I don't pretend to know a lot about remote viewing. But one thing that's quite interesting is
it's strange. If you look at remote viewing, like Ingo Swann and, you know, the Stargate program that the CIA conducted, yes, the CIA officially conducted psychical research into espionage or the use of remote viewers to be able to go and spy on adversaries. Of all the things that have been talked about, it's like you sit in a room, you get given coordinates to a location, but you don't get told what those coordinates are. You then start sketching, you start writing down and talking about what you're perceiving. So one of the things I think it was Ingo Swann said he remote viewed was the moon, and that there was a base on the moon, and there was like aliens on the moon, and they could actually perceive that he was there. They're psychic, and they could perceive that he was there, and was told to get away from there. I think Y-Files did a pretty good episode on Ingo Swann. Really entertaining episode, actually. Go and watch it. Y-Files is amazing. So I suppose it's just another element of all these shadow people. Would they be remote viewers? Then why do they show up in like random abandoned buildings? So I don't know. Interesting angle.
A number of remote viewers, and if you read the history of the Stargate program, a number of remote viewers have related how when they've been remote viewing a site and there's an alleged non-human entity there, they somehow perceive the non-humans there. The non-humans perceive the human there. But I don't think that when you're remote viewing, you're physically manifesting a representation of yourself to whatever or whoever is in the location. I think that essentially it's a transfer of consciousness, if it's anything at all, and essentially it's an ability to remotely perceive a location. And I don't think that the person is manifested in any way on that location. So I don't think it could be somebody who was remote viewing Area 2, no.
Okay, we will.
Could have been a psychic spy from another, the Russians or the Chinese. I doubt it, though.
Go to a question from Chris on X. Hi, Megan. How are you, hun? I am good. Can you ask Ross what his thoughts are on NASA cutting the live feed from Mars when 3i Atlas went past? Everything was going well. Then they turned into a gray screen. What are they hiding?
You know, it's funny. I never believed any of the NASA conspiracy theories until very, very recently. I always thought it was nonsense that NASA cut the feed. And I now realize someone is cutting the feed because I've seen it. I've actually seen it happen. I can't comment one way or the other about the 3i Atlas feed being cut because, frankly, I just don't know if it was. I assume that there was a disruption. And look, disruptions do happen to transmissions. Obviously, it's a big thing to be able to receive or send a transmission across space. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if occasionally there are disruptions. But I'll tell you my story, which I have told.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened too many times, though. Like, something interesting they'll do a NASA feed, and it's basically just a boring 12-hour live feed. Something interesting pops up into shot, bang, feed is cut. And it happens too many times to be a coincidence. Now, I'm not saying it's because it's aliens or something. It could be that it's a spy satellite, or it could be another launch that's kept off the books that they don't want people to know about. But yeah, it's happened too many times to be a coincidence for me.
Told before, but I was invited to tour as a VIP the Marshall Space Center when I was giving a speech at the Huntsville Scientific Coalition for the Study of UAPs 2 years ago. And it was a great opportunity, and I remain very grateful to the local director of NASA on location, who very kindly ushered me around with the wife of another former NASA administrator, Mike Griffin. And while we were on location in the viewing room, where there's a huge bank of video feeds from the space station, the International Space Station, we were looking at the feeds with the director of the Marshall Space Center talking to me with his back to those screens. And there's the control room for the receiving of signals and control of the space station to my right that we're looking at through this glass window. And as he's talking to me, Rebecca nudges me and goes, "Look." And there are maybe 8 or 9 egg-shaped objects moving from behind the space station, and the camera is pointed out into interstellar space. And you see these egg-shaped objects just tracking along in formation very, very slowly. And I very naively asked the director of the Marshall Space Center, "Excuse me, sir, are they Starlink satellites? Has somebody just released Starlink satellites?" And he turns, looks at the feed, sees the objects, and then he looks through the window into the main control room, and they flick a switch, and they do it right in front of us. Transmission to the space station has been interrupted. Now, I don't know what happened. I'm not suggesting any sinister motive on the part of the director of the Marshall Space Center, but I saw it happen, and so did 2 other people, including the wife of a former NASA administrator. So it happened. And
No. I believe him, 100%, absolutely believe him. Now, if I'm the guy who sort of looked and went, cut the fucking food, you've missed the trick. You could have just gone, "Oh, that's any old shit." You could have made something up and tried pushing it off as like no big deal. But the fact that you sort of went, "Cut the feed," and they cut the feed, I don't know. You've shot yourself in the foot there. Because even if they came up with now with a prosaic explanation of, oh, it was just this, and we thought, put the feed, it'd be like, no, we don't believe you now. Talking bollocks. Interesting, very interesting.
The thing that interested me was it almost seemed to be routine. And when I went back to try and look at feeds to see if I could find what I'd seen, it wasn't there. So I've seen a disruption to the feed and it made me feel very, very uncomfortable. What I was seeing was clearly anomalous to people in the room. And I never got an explanation. The director went and he had to move on because he was committed on other tasks. But I never got an explanation for what that was, which remains profoundly interesting. As for the 3i Atlas video feed disruption, I didn't see it happen. I don't know anything about it, but I can tell you I've seen strange disruptions to the feeds, the video feeds, through NASA.
Imagine being in the room and you saw that, and the director cut it off and went, all right, I've got to go now. Yeah, I've got a meeting. Absolutely did themselves in the foot there. Because for me, yeah, that's a telling sign. But on the flip side of that as well is, if this happens so much, surely there's a lot of people in NASA would be aware of. Because you got the director, you got the guy in the control room who's got control of the feed. He must be aware and seeing what's on the feed. So there must have a lot of people who are not talking about what's happening in these cases. Strange.
All right, very interesting. We will go to another question from X. Hi, Megan. Please, could you ask Ross why these so-called drones cannot be tracked back to source? With all the modern technology, it baffles me. Kind regards, Neil in Yorkshire.
That is the
Yorkshire, for anybody.
$99 million question. I find it utterly baffling that we have spent literally billions, trillions of dollars on defence, particularly in Western Europe, which of course is the forward line against any Russian offensive that might take place. And so an enormous amount of money has been spent on basically counter UAS technology, counter air technology. You know, we're basically meant to have the top air surveillance technology in the world. You're telling me that we cannot in any way follow, track, or detect these drones, supposed drones, when they appear? It just doesn't wash to me. And I really do think, now that we know that these sightings are continuing, including in Santorini, Greece, clearly, but now that we know that these objects are still manifesting themselves over Western Europe, it's still going on, there's still no explanation, there's still no admission from anyone in authority that they have any idea what these objects are. They've not been able to track them, they've not been able to follow them. It's just a baffling mystery. And what I find extraordinary is these stories happen as they happened in New Jersey, continental United States last year. They come, and then the mainstream media forgets about the issue and moves on. And everybody goes, oh, yeah, what about that drone issue a few years ago? And it's...
Yeah, I think it's because people get bored and then something else happens and people just get, you know, what's happening with all these drones? Are the drones still going on? Yeah. Do we know what it is? No. Oh, I'm bored of it now anyway. Whatever will be, will be. That's the general public. They will get bored, they will move on. They will get bored and they will move on. And I think, is it in the US, obviously, there's a lot of protests around the No Kings. I mean, let's face it, we've got a king. Oh, I see the appeal. I really see the appeal. Not going to go into politics, but apologies, Ross. I paused at a really inopportune time there for you. There you go. It's a little bit better. So yeah, I've lost my train of thought now.
I am told that this is an ongoing mystery that has not been resolved. It's an issue of huge concern. The explanation that it's the Russians is the default explanation, purely and simply because they have no bloody idea.
I agree. I don't think they've got a bleeding clue, or they do have a clue, but they don't want the general public to know. And either one is quite a scary prospect.
And the interesting thing is the Russians have categorically denied it, as they would, of course, if they were doing this. one of the possibilities in my head still is that this might be highly advanced Chinese technology, that the Chinese have made some kind of technological breakthrough that allows them to have drone-like objects loitering on position for many hours on end with no visible means of propulsion, and obviously highly stealth capabilities that allow them not to be tracked or detected. But
yeah, but what's the purpose in New Jersey to have a highly... I mean, the risk is you lose one of these things over a target in New Jersey, then effectively you've lost your tech. It's going to get reverse engineered. I would imagine that if you've made this massive breakthrough, you wouldn't really want to showcase it in an area that like this. It's a big risk.
really, there's no evidence for that. Why would the Chinese do that? I guess I'm just speculating that maybe they're trying to provoke some kind of a conflict between the West and the East.
Yeah, so some interesting bits in there. This is just going to be part one because it's a long segment. And with my commentary, it's even longer, so it'd be like about an hour. Nobody wants to sit through an hour of listening to me. Let me know what you think. Do me a favour, hit that subscribe button. I don't like saying that. I said I wouldn't, but it would help me out massively. Trying to grow the channel. If you don't want to do that, that's perfectly fine. Thanks for coming, and I will see you on the next one, hopefully. You take care. Hope you have a fantastic day, evening, night, wherever you are. And I will see you on the next one. Cheers.